My beloved brothers and sisters, let me be honest with you. If your heart cannot rest, it is not because life is hard. It is because fear is controlling you. You are not overworking because you love work. You are overworking because you are scared of what will happen if you stop. Scared of losing money, scared of falling behind, scared of being replaced, scared of tomorrow. And while you are exhausting yourself trying to secure your future, Allah is saying, I am the one who holds it. Stay with me until the end, because today you may finally learn how to let go of the fear that is quietly stealing your peace. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most dangerous things about fear is that it hides. It doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't always look like panic or tears. Very often, fear disguises itself as responsibility, ambition, and hard work. You tell yourself, I'm just being careful. I'm just doing what needs to be done. No one else will take care of this if I don't. But deep inside, there is a voice that says, if I stop, I will lose everything. That voice is not discipline, it is fear. There is a huge difference between working because you trust Allah and working because you are afraid of what will happen without you. When trust is present, effort feels purposeful. When fear takes over, effort becomes exhausting. You begin to believe that your value comes from how much you produce, how busy you look, how much pressure you can survive. Rest starts to feel like failure. Saying no feels dangerous. Slowing down feels irresponsible. And slowly, without realizing it, fear takes the steering wheel of your life. My brothers and sisters, Allah never asked you to live like this. He never asked you to carry tomorrow on your shoulders. He never asked you to turn yourself into a machine that cannot pause. Fear makes you think that everything depends on you, but faith reminds you that everything depends on Allah. When fear controls your effort, your body works, but your heart is constantly tense. You achieve things, but you cannot enjoy them. You move forward, but you feel empty inside. Look carefully at your exhaustion. It is not always because you are doing too much. Sometimes it is because you are trusting too little. You are pushing yourself beyond healthy limits because you are afraid of falling behind others, afraid of disappointing people, afraid of uncertainty. But Allah did not create you to live under constant pressure. He created you to strive with balance, to work with purpose, and to rely on Him with confidence. When fear drives your effort, your heart never rests. But when trust enters the heart, effort becomes lighter. You still work, you still strive, you still give your best, but you no longer feel like the world will collapse if you pause. That is the difference between fear-based work and faith-based work. And until fear is replaced with trust, no amount of success will ever bring you peace. My beloved brothers and sisters, when trust in Allah weakens in the heart, something else quietly moves in to take its place: anxiety. Not the loud kind that everyone sees, but the silent kind that lives in the chest, follows you to work, sits with you at night, and steals your ability to rest. You may look fine on the outside, you may be productive, responsible, admired even, but inside your heart is constantly calculating, worrying, preparing for disasters that may never come. This is what happens when the heart forgets who is in control. When trust is strong, the heart feels anchored. When trust is weak, the heart feels hunted. You begin to live as though you must predict every outcome, secure every possibility, and protect yourself from every risk. You replay conversations, fear mistakes, and overthink decisions because deep down you feel alone in carrying the future. And that loneliness is heavy. It drains you more than the work itself. Allah never intended the believer to live in constant inattention. The believer may face hardship, but his heart is not supposed to be restless all the time. Anxiety becomes dominant when we believe that outcomes depend entirely on us. We plan, but we forget the planner. We strive, but we forget the sustainer. We calculate, but we forget the controller of all affairs. And so the heart panics because it feels unsupported. This is why some people work less yet feel more peace, while others work endlessly yet feel suffocated. The difference is not effort, it is trust. A heart that truly relies on Allah may feel pain, but it does not drown in fear. A heart that trusts Allah knows that even if things go wrong, Allah is still right. Even if doors close, Allah still knows the way forward. Even if plans fail, Allah's plan has not failed. Allah reminds us of this truth clearly in the Quran. He teaches us that trust is not a feeling, it is a decision, and it brings divine support with it. Allah says, وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى لِلَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. This verse is not poetry, it is a promise. Whoever places true trust in Allah, Allah is enough for them. Not sometimes, not partially, enough. Enough for their worries, enough for their future, enough for what they fear and what they do not yet see. Allah will accomplish His purpose whether you are calm or anxious. The difference is how heavy your heart feels while you wait. My brothers and sisters, anxiety is often a sign that the heart is trying to sit on Allah's throne. It is the heart saying, I must control this or I will not survive. But the heart was never created to carry that weight. When you return trust to where it belongs to Allah, the heart begins to breathe again. Problems may still exist, but panic loosens its grip, fear softens, and peace slowly but surely finds its way back into the soul. This is why rebuilding trust in Allah is not optional for the believer, it is essential. Without it, success feels empty, effort feels crushing, and life feels like a constant emergency. But with it, even hardship carries meaning, and even waiting carries peace. One of the greatest misunderstandings we carry in our hearts is the belief that our effort guarantees outcomes. We begin to think that if we just do more, push harder, sacrifice, sleep, peace, and health, then we can control what happens next. Slowly, without realizing it, we stop trusting Allah with results and start trusting our own exhaustion instead. We believe our suffering is proof of responsibility, but that belief is quietly breaking us. Understand this clearly. Effort is your responsibility, outcomes are not. Allah never placed the burden of results on your shoulders. He only asked you to strive with sincerity and leave the unseen to Him. But when fear takes over, we reverse this order. We obsess over results. We measure success by numbers, stability by bank accounts, security by how much control we think we have. And the more we chase certainty, the more uncertain we feel. Look at how much emotional energy is wasted worrying about things you cannot change. Worry does not improve tomorrow. Anxiety does not protect the future. Overthinking does not add a single moment of life. Yet people exhaust themselves mentally as if stress itself is a form of effort. They believe that if they worry enough, they are being responsible. But worry is not responsibility. It is a sign that the heart has lost its anchor. Allah created the human heart to rely, not to rule. The moment you try to sit in the seat of control, your heart begins to suffocate. That is why you feel tightness in your chest. That is why your mind never switches off. That is why success does not taste sweet anymore. You were never designed to carry the weight of tomorrow. You were designed to walk toward Allah today. Think about how Allah has already carried you. There were moments in your life when you had no plan, no strength, no clarity, and yet you survived. Doors opened that you never imagined. Help came from directions you never expected. Strength appeared when you thought you had none left. That was not you. That was Allah. So why do you now believe that everything ahead depends entirely on your fear-driven effort? My brothers and sisters, when you overwork because you are afraid, you are not trusting Allah's wisdom, timing, or mercy. You are telling yourself that if you do not hold everything tightly, it will slip away. But what is written for you will never miss you, and what is not written for you will never reach you, no matter how hard you exhaust yourself chasing it. This truth is not meant to make you careless, it is meant to make you calm. When trust enters the heart, something beautiful happens. You still plan, but you are no longer desperate. You still strive, but you are no longer panicked. You still care, but you are no longer crushed by fear. You begin to understand that Allah is not asking you to sacrifice your soul to prove your sincerity. He is asking you to walk forward while knowing He is already ahead of you. The heaviest chains in life are not made of hardship, they are made of control. The moment you loosen your grip and return outcomes to Allah, your heart begins to feel lighter. Problems do not vanish overnight, but they stop owning you. And that is when effort turns back into worship and life begins to feel aligned again. Not because everything is easy, but because Allah is back where He belongs, in control. My beloved brothers and sisters, when fear settles deeply in the heart, it quietly changes the way you see Allah. You may still pray, you may still believe, you may still say the right words, but your behavior begins to reflect something else. You start living as though Allah is not enough, as though His promise needs your panic to work, as though His protection requires your constant exhaustion to be valid. And this is one of the most painful states a believer can fall into, not because Allah abandons you, but because you unknowingly distance your heart from Him. Fear convinces you that safety comes only from income, that dignity comes only from productivity, that worth comes only from results. So you keep pushing even when your body is begging for rest. You keep saying yes, even when your soul is screaming no. You keep running, even when you don't know what you are running toward anymore. And all the while, Allah is still Ar-Razzaq, still Al-Wakil, still fully in control. But fear has made you live as if you are on your own. This is why fear is so dangerous. It does not always remove faith from the tongue, but it slowly removes reliance from the heart. You begin to trust systems more than the creator of systems. You trust schedules more than the one who controls time. You trust effort more than the one who gives barakah to effort. And when Allah is no longer the source of your sense of safety, everything else becomes unstable. That is when life feels fragile, unpredictable, and constantly threatening. My brothers and sisters, Allah never wanted you to feel like survival is your responsibility alone. He never wanted you to feel that one mistake will ruin everything, that one pause will destroy your future, that one failure will define your worth. These thoughts do not come from trust, they come from fear. And fear shrinks the heart until it forgets the vastness of Allah's mercy and power. Look at how fear has reshaped your relationship with rest. Rest no longer feels like gratitude, it feels like danger. Silence no longer feels peaceful, it feels like loss. Time with family feels like distraction, worship feels rushed, even dua feels desperate instead of hopeful. This is what happens when fear becomes louder than remembrance. The heart becomes busy but empty, active but disconnected. Allah wants to be relied upon, not replaced. Tawakkul is not just a concept, it is a relationship of trust between the servant and his Lord. When you truly rely on Allah, you do not feel threatened by slowing down because you know Allah does not sleep. You do not feel afraid of missing out because you know Allah's timing is perfect. You do not feel crushed by responsibility because you know Allah never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. My beloved brothers and sisters, the moment you begin to believe that Allah is truly enough, enough for your provision, enough for your future, enough for your protection, fear starts to lose its authority over you. It does not disappear overnight, but it no longer controls your decisions. And when fear no longer controls you, effort becomes balanced, worship becomes sincere, and life begins to feel livable again. Living as if Allah is enough does not mean life becomes easy. It means the heart becomes steady, and a steady heart can face storms without breaking because it knows who is in charge of the waves. My beloved brothers and sisters, this is where the heart needs to pause and be very honest with itself. When fear dominates your life, effort slowly stops being an act of worship and starts becoming an act of control. You are no longer working because you trust Allah and want to please Him. You are working because you are terrified of what will happen if you loosen your grip. You may still pray, you may still make dua, but deep inside your heart is saying, if I don't handle this, no one will. And that thought is heavier than any workload. Fear makes you believe that control equals safety. It whispers to you that the more you manage, the more you plan, the more you exhaust yourself, the safer you will be. But control is an illusion. No amount of overworking can stop a decree Allah has written, and no amount of fear can bring a decree Allah has not allowed. Yet fear keeps pushing you to act as though the future is fragile and you are the only one holding it together. This is why fear-based effort never satisfies the soul. You reach milestones, but instead of relief, you feel more pressure. You achieve goals, but instead of gratitude, you feel anxiety about maintaining them. You get stability, but instead of peace, you feel fear of losing it. That is because fear does not want success, it wants certainty, and certainty belongs only to Allah. When effort is driven by fear, your heart is never present. Even when you are with your family, your mind is elsewhere. Even when you pray, your worries follow you. Even when you rest, your heart feels guilty. Fear steals your ability to enjoy what Allah has already given you because it is constantly obsessed with what might be taken away. This is not the life Allah promised the believer. Allah did not ask you to worship your job. He did not ask you to sacrifice your health at the altar of productivity. He did not ask you to measure your worth by output, income, or approval. He asked you to worship Him, and worship includes trusting Him, surrendering outcomes to Him, and believing that He is managing what you cannot see. Fear makes you forget that barakah does not come from exhaustion. Barakah comes from Allah. You can work fewer hours with sincerity and trust and receive more benefit than someone who works endlessly with fear and anxiety. You can earn less yet live with dignity, or earn more yet live with constant stress. The difference is not effort, it is where the heart is placed. My brothers and sisters, fear makes you chase life instead of walking through it with Allah. You become reactive instead of reflective. You rush instead of relying. You push instead of trusting. And slowly, without realizing it, your soul becomes tired, not from work, but from the absence of surrender. True worship is not just in prayer mats and fasting days. It is in how you carry your responsibilities. When you work while trusting Allah, your effort becomes worship. When you work while fearing loss, your effort becomes punishment. One feeds the soul, the other drains it. Fear also makes you forget gratitude. You are so focused on securing tomorrow that you forget to thank Allah for today. You are so busy protecting what you have that you forget who gave it to you in the first place. Gratitude disappears when fear dominates, because fear is always looking ahead, never appreciating what is already in the hands. Allah wants you to strive, but He also wants you to rely. He wants you to plan, but He also wants you to pray. He wants you to act, but He also wants you to surrender. The moment effort loses surrender, it loses peace. And the moment surrender returns, effort becomes lighter, even if the workload remains the same. My beloved brothers and sisters, fear is not proof of responsibility. Fear is proof that the heart is overwhelmed. And Allah does not want overwhelmed hearts. He wants hearts that turn back to Him. Hearts that say, "Oh Allah, I will do my part, but I trust You with what I cannot control." When you release control, you do not become careless. You become calm. You become focused. You become intentional. You stop reacting to fear and start responding with faith. You stop running from imagined disasters and start walking with Allah through real life. This is why trusting Allah is not weakness, it is courage. It takes courage to rest when fear says panic. It takes courage to stop when fear says push. It takes courage to say Allah is enough when the world tells you that you are never doing enough. Fear tells you that if you slow down, you will fail. Faith tells you that if Allah wills success, no one can stop it. Fear tells you that you must earn security. Faith tells you that security comes from Allah alone. Fear tells you that you are on your own. Faith reminds you that Allah has never left you. My brothers and sisters, when you finally let go of fear-driven effort, something beautiful happens. Your work becomes sincere again. Your worship becomes present again. Your relationships become meaningful again. Your heart becomes softer again. You still face challenges, but they no longer crush you. You still work hard, but you no longer feel hunted by life. Allah does not want you to destroy yourself to prove your trust. He wants you to trust Him enough to live. And when trust returns to the heart, fear loosens its grip, effort finds balance, and peace begins to return quietly, gently, exactly when the heart is ready to receive it. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the most heartbreaking things fear does to the believer is that it erases memory. It makes you forget how many times Allah already rescued you. It makes you forget how many situations you thought would destroy you but didn't. It makes you forget the doors that opened when you had no strength left, the help that came when you had no plan, the peace that arrived after nights of tears. Fear has a way of making the heart blind to its own history with Allah. When fear takes over, you start believing that this time is different. You tell yourself, before was luck, before was coincidence, before was easier, and now suddenly everything depends on you. Your effort, your control, your constant pushing. But my brothers and sisters, Allah did not stop being Allah just because your situation changed. The one who carried you then is the same one watching you now. Look back at your life honestly. There were moments when you were weaker than you are today. You knew less, you had fewer resources, you were more confused, yet somehow you are still here. Somehow you survived what you once thought you wouldn't. That survival was not your overworking, it was not your anxiety, it was Allah's mercy wrapping around you when you didn't even realize it. Fear tells you if you relax now, everything will fall apart. Faith reminds you even when you were broken, Allah held you together. Fear tells you you cannot afford to slow down. Faith whispers, Allah never sleeps. Fear tells you you are one mistake away from losing everything. Faith answers, what is written for you cannot be taken by anyone. My beloved brothers and sisters, fear also distorts time. It makes you live in a future that does not exist yet. You mentally travel months and years ahead, imagining losses, failures, humiliations, disappointments, and you exhaust yourself emotionally over events Allah has not even written. You suffer twice. Once in imagination and once in reality. And sometimes reality never even brings what you feared. Allah never asked you to live in tomorrow. He asked you to live with Him today. The heart that trusts Allah does not ignore the future, but it does not panic about it either. It plans responsibly and then releases the rest. Fear, however, keeps dragging you forward, refusing to let you rest in the present moment Allah has gifted you. This is why fear-based overworking feels endless. There is no finish line, no moment of relief, because fear does not want achievement, it wants reassurance. And reassurance does not come from effort, it comes from trust. Until trust returns to the heart, no amount of success will feel like enough. My brothers and sisters, fear also changes how you see yourself. You stop seeing yourself as a servant supported by Allah, and you start seeing yourself as a fragile being constantly at risk. You begin to think that if you fail once, you are finished. That if you slow down once, you will be replaced. That if you say no once, you will be forgotten. These thoughts do not come from faith, they come from insecurity planted by fear. Allah did not create you to live feeling disposable. He created you with dignity. Your value does not come from how replaceable you are at work or how useful you are to people. Your value comes from your relationship with Allah. When fear dominates, you forget this and you begin to chase validation through exhaustion. Fear also damages your relationship with worship. Prayer becomes rushed. Dua becomes desperate. Quran becomes background noise instead of nourishment. Why? Because fear makes the heart impatient. It wants instant reassurance, instant relief, instant certainty. But Allah trains the believer through patience, not panic. My beloved brothers and sisters, Allah knows your fears better than you do. He knows what keeps you awake at night. He knows what you are scared to lose. He knows what you are trying to protect. And He knows how fragile your heart feels beneath the strength you show the world. That is why Allah repeatedly reminds us to rely on Him, not because He needs it, but because we do. Fear makes you believe that letting go means giving up. Trust teaches you that letting go means handing things to the one who is far more capable than you. When you stop overworking out of fear, you are not becoming careless, you are becoming conscious. Conscious that Allah is present, conscious that Allah is aware, conscious that Allah is in control. Think about how heavy your heart feels right now. That heaviness is not from responsibility alone, it is from loneliness, from feeling like you are carrying everything by yourself, but you were never alone. You only felt alone because fear pushed Allah out of the center of your thoughts. When you bring Allah back into the center, something shifts. The workload may not disappear, the challenges may not vanish, but the weight feels different. You are no longer dragging life behind you, you are walking with Allah through it, and that changes everything. My brothers and sisters, fear wants you exhausted because exhaustion weakens faith. But Allah wants you calm because calm hearts remember Him better. A calm heart hears guidance. A calm heart trusts timing. A calm heart knows when to strive and when to pause. If you are overworking because you are afraid, Allah is not angry with you. He is inviting you back to trust, back to reliance, back to balance. Back to a heart that knows it does not need to panic to be protected. And when that trust slowly returns, even a little, you will notice something remarkable. You will still work, but without desperation. You will still strive, but without fear. You will still care, but without anxiety ruling your soul. And that is when effort becomes worship again, not a prison. After all the effort, all the striving, all the fear, all the exhaustion, there comes a moment where the heart must finally learn how to rest. Not because everything is perfect, not because problems have disappeared, but because the heart finally accepts a truth it has been resisting for too long. Allah is enough. And until the heart reaches this point, no amount of work, planning, or control will ever bring peace. Many people think rest is something you earn after everything is finished. But in reality, rest is something you allow once trust enters the heart. You do not rest because life is easy, you rest because Allah is in control. This is why two people can be in the same situation, same workload, same pressure, same uncertainty, yet one is calm and the other is breaking. The difference is not circumstances, the difference is trust. My brothers and sisters, fear keeps the heart tense because it believes disaster is always close. Trust relaxes the heart because it knows that even if hardship comes, Allah comes with it. Fear tells you prepare for the worst. Trust tells you rely on the best. And when the heart finally listens to trust, something profound happens. The soul exhales for the first time in a long time. Resting the heart does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means releasing obsession. It means no longer replaying worst case scenarios at night. It means no longer punishing yourself for not doing more. It means accepting that you are human, limited and dependent, and that this dependence is not a weakness, it is worship. Allah never asked you to live with a clenched heart. He never wanted you to worship Him with panic. He never wanted you to confuse exhaustion with sincerity. The Prophet ﷺ lived with immense responsibility, yet his heart was anchored. He planned, he acted, he struggled, but his trust in Allah never wavered. That is why his heart was firm even when the world around him shook. My beloved brothers and sisters, fear makes you believe that resting your heart is irresponsible. But faith teaches you that resting your heart is obedience. Obedience to the truth that Allah controls outcomes. Obedience to the reality that your role is effort, not guarantee. Obedience to the wisdom that Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear, and that includes emotional burden. When the heart refuses to rest, it is often because it is still negotiating with Allah. It is still saying, let me just secure this first. Let me just be safe first. Let me just make sure nothing goes wrong. But faith begins when the heart stops negotiating and starts trusting. When it says, oh Allah, I have done what I can. I leave what I cannot with you. This is where peace begins. Not at the end of problems, but at the beginning of surrender. Resting the heart also means forgiving yourself. Forgiving yourself for not knowing everything. Forgiving yourself for past mistakes. Forgiving yourself for being afraid. Allah already forgave you more than you forgive yourself. So why keep punishing your heart? Fear keeps dragging the past forward and pushing the future backward until the present moment feels unbearable. Trust brings you back to now. It reminds you that Allah is with you here, not just at the finish line. And when Allah is with you, the present moment becomes safe enough to live in. My brothers and sisters, this lesson is not about doing less, it is about trusting more. It is about replacing panic with prayer, obsession with remembrance, fear with faith. It is about understanding that Allah does not want your heart broken in His name. He wants your heart surrendered in His care. When you finally allow your heart to rest, you will notice changes you did not expect. your decisions become clearer, your worship becomes sweeter, your effort becomes focused, your relationships become warmer, your sleep becomes deeper, not because life is suddenly easy, but because fear no longer dominates the soul. Resting the heart is saying, even if I do not understand, I trust you. Resting the heart is saying, even if the path is unclear, I walk with you. Resting the heart is saying, even if the outcome is unknown, I am not alone. And this is the highest level of tawakkul, not the absence of effort, but the absence of fear. My beloved brothers and sisters, you were not created to live in constant tension. You were not created to be hunted by tomorrow. You were not created to prove your worth through exhaustion. You were created to know Allah, to rely on Him, to return to Him, and to find peace in that return. So work but trust, strive but surrender, plan but believe. And when fear tells you to panic, let faith remind you Allah has never failed you before, and He will not start now. My beloved brothers and sisters, if there is one truth I want you to walk away with today, it is this: Allah never wanted you to live afraid. He never wanted your heart to be crushed by pressure, nor your soul to be exhausted by worry. You were created to strive, yes, but you were also created to trust. And when trust is missing, even success feels heavy. When trust returns, even hardship feels manageable. Do not measure your faith by how much you suffer. Measure it by how quickly you return to Allah when fear takes over. Every time your heart tightens, that is an invitation. Every time you feel overwhelmed, that is a reminder. Every time you feel like you are carrying too much, Allah is calling you back to reliance, back to surrender, back to peace. So go back into your life with effort in your hands and trust in your heart. Work, but don't worship work. Plan, but don't panic. Strive, but don't suffocate your soul. Leave the outcomes to Allah, because He has never failed you and He never will. Oh Allah, we come to you with hearts that are tired, minds that are restless, and souls that are seeking peace. Oh Allah, remove fear from our hearts and replace it with trust in you. Remove anxiety from our thoughts and replace it with certainty in your wisdom. Oh Allah, help us to work without panic, to strive without fear, and to rest without guilt. Grant us hearts that rely on you fully, tongues that remember you constantly, and souls that are content with your decree. Oh Allah, bless our efforts with barakah, protect us from exhaustion that distances us from you, and grant us balance in our lives. Carry for us what we are too weak to carry, and guide us to place our trust where it truly belongs with you alone. O Allah, make us among those who tie their camel and trust you, who plan responsibly and surrender sincerely, who strive in this world while their hearts are attached to the hereafter. O Allah, grant us peace that no circumstance can take away, and trust that no hardship can shake. Amen.